The new topic in unit number 1 is Say's law of markets. Students, when we started with the very first topic, that is Introduction to Macroeconomics, we had completed one subtopic, that is Schools of Economic Thought. Under Schools of Economic Thought, the very first part was of classical macroeconomics. So under this, we will quickly have a review of this because it has a very close connection with our new topic, that is Say's law of markets. So let us understand the views of classical macroeconomists. Now, according to the beliefs and assumptions of classical macroeconomists, they believe that markets work best when they are left alone. That means there is no need for the government to intervene. This is called as laissez-faire. Apart from this, classical macroeconomists also believe that even if in an economy there is unemployment, this unemployment is only for short period. That is, it is only for a short run. It is called as a short run phenomenon. They also further, the economy will never have a problem of overproduction nor underproduction. Economy will always be in equilibrium only in the long run. This view had faced certain problem when there was a Great Depression in the year 1929. So the classical economists' assumption that there will always be full employment only in the long run. So this was based on Say's law of market. Now this full employment condition means that there will never be any involuntary unemployment. This means that those who are willing to work will always find a job. So even at full employment, there may be frictional unemployment or voluntary unemployment. Frictional unemployment means that workers are only temporarily unemployed. This means that they might be willing to find any job. So when they are finding any job, that temporary period of unemployment is called as frictional unemployment. Or there might also be voluntary unemployment. That means workers do not want to work even though the job is available in the market. So this view or this belief of full employment in the long run is based on Say's law of markets. So let's now understand the Say's law of markets. Now students, let's understand about Say's law of markets. Say's law of market was named after Jean-Baptiste Say, who was a French economist of the 19th century. Say's law of market is the foundation of the classical theory of employment, which is based on the assumption of full employment. Now let's understand the main statement of Say's law of market, or the meaning of Say's law of market. Say's law of market states that supply creates its own demand. This means that production of goods and services will generate enough income and expenditure for the people to demand whatever is produced. This means that there will be never deficiency of demand. That is, there will never be a problem of lack of demand. Also, there will never be the problem of overproduction or underproduction. There will also never be the problem of unemployment. Why? Because there is excess supply of goods over demand. So students, always remember this is a very important statement of Say's law of market, that is supply creates its own demand. Further, Say's law of market is applicable to barter economy as well as money economy. Now let's understand Say's law in a barter economy. As we already know, barter economy is an economy where there is exchange of goods for goods. So in a barter economy, people tend to specialize in the production of goods and services which they can produce relatively more efficiently. This means that They tend to produce those goods and services which they are best at. Alternatively, you can also say that they tend to produce those goods and services for which the resources they have is abundantly available. But on the other hand, they also require other goods and services to live their life. Further, when they offer their produce in barter economy for other goods, that means when they offer their goods in the barter economy in exchange for other goods, what is happening? They are creating demand for other goods. For example, let us see an example now. Now there are two people here. One is a farmer who is producing crops, that is wheat, and another is a weaver who weaves cloth. Now both require each other. That is because farmer also requires cloth. On the other hand, the weaver also requires crops to live his life. So a farmer offers his surplus produce. This means surplus produce means farmer produces for his own family plus he produces more so that he can exchange with some other good. On the other hand, the weaver also exchanges cloth in return for wheat. This means that he creates demand for cloth. So the weaver who is in need of wheat produces surplus cloth while creates demand for wheat. Thus production of wheat creates demand for wheat. This shows aggregate demand for goods is equal to aggregate supply of goods. That means whatever is demanded is supplied. So in this kind of an economy, there can never be or cannot be overproduction or underproduction. Why? This is because people produce goods for their own consumption. Also, they produce what they can consume and they produce as that much is required for consumption in the economy. This means that in simple words, producers produce goods for their own consumption plus they produce for whatever is demanded in the economy. That is why there can never be a problem of overproduction or underproduction. Now, if at all there is any problem of over and underproduction, this is only because of wrong calculation of the consumption need by the producer. Hence, Say's law always is applied and is always true in a barter economy. Now let's understand Say's law in a money economy. Now production of goods requires employment of production like land, labor, capital and entrepreneur. So when producers, this means that when producers produce goods, they require either one or a combination of different factors of production like land, labor, capital and entrepreneur. Now when you are utilizing any factor of production, this means that the producer has to pay those factors of production in the form of wages, interest, rent and profits. So by spending their money income on the goods they produce, they create demand. It follows that this means that if there is production, there is income. And if there is income, there is again demand for goods. So this means that in simple words, only if the producers produce, people will get income. And if people get income, the people will utilize that income to demand or to spend that income on various goods and services. So this means that supply creates its own demand, thus following the Say's law. That means whatever is supplied is demanded. Next topic is features of Say's law of markets. The very first feature is production creates market demand for goods. This means that when producers obtain the various inputs which is to be utilized in the production process, they will generate enough income. For example, producers will give wages to the laborers. Why? Because they are producing goods. Now these laborers will in turn purchase the goods from the market for their own consumption, thus causing the demand for goods which are produced. In this way, supply creates its own demand. Next feature is barter system as its basis. That is, we already know that Say's law of market is applicable to the barter economy. That is where goods are sold for goods. This means that whatever is produced is ultimately consumed in the economy. That is, producers produce goods for their own consumption plus for whatever is demanded in the economy. The third feature of Say's law of market is general overproduction is impossible. So this means that under normal conditions, if the production process continues, then producers will never face any difficulty to sell their products in the market. Why? This is because as per Say, that is according to Say, no person likes to work unless the product he is producing is demanded by the other person in the market. So therefore, the very act of supplying the goods implies a demand for them. This means that the idea of supplying goods creates a demand for the same good. Further, the fourth feature of Say's law of market is saving investment equality. This means that factor owners will pay factor income in the form of rent, wages and interest. Now this in turn, that means this entire income is not spent on consumption, but some proportion out of it is also saved, which is automatically invested for further production. This means that students, whenever we get income, we do not spend our entire income on consumption, but rather at least some percentage of our income is also saved. Now this saving means we will like to obviously invest it in further production from the point of view of producers. So therefore, investment in production is a kind of saving. Thus, saving investment identity is maintained so as to avoid problem of overproduction. Next feature of Say's law of market is labor market. Now, according to Professor Pigou, he said that Say's law is also applicable in terms of labor market. That is, Pigou said that by giving minimum wages to laborers, more laborers can be employed, and in this way there will always be more demand for labor. Now, if at all there is unemployment, then it is only because of rigid wage structure by the producers. This means that because producers are having or implementing rigid wages, only because of that the employees, that is the laborers, do not like to work on those particular wages, and that is the main reason for unemployment. One last feature of Say's law of market is rate of interest as a determinant factor. This means that Say's law of markets regards rate of interest as a determinant factor. This means that it is very important factor in order to maintain the equality between saving and investment. For example, if at all there is investment, if at all investment exceeds saving, then the rate of interest increases. So in order to equalize this situation, investment needs to be reduced and saving will increase. On the other hand, when saving is more than the investment, then the rate of interest falls. So in this case, investment needs to increase and saving needs to decline till the two is equalized, that is savings equal to investment. Now let's understand implications of Say's law of market. Implications means what conclusion we can draw after studying Say's law of market. So let's understand that. The very first implication is self-adjusting mechanism. This means that there is automatic adjustment in the economic system. Why? Because supply creates its own demand, and therefore there is no need for the government to interfere in the normal functioning of the economy. Now, if at all there is any disequilibrium, then it is only for a short duration or for a shorter period of time. And in the long run, there will always be equilibrium. Second implication is laissez-faire approach. This means that government always follows a laissez-faire policy. That means it does not interfere in the normal functioning of the market or the economy. If the government interferes, then it will create imbalances and the economy will become disequilibrium. And in the absence of government intervention, if at all there is any disequilibrium in the economy, then it is only for a short duration or it is only temporary. In the long run, the economy will adjust automatically and it will result in equilibrium in the long run. The third implication is no problem of overproduction. As we studied in the Say's law, supply creates its own demand. So there can never be a problem of overproduction. Now when there is no overproduction, there will also not be any problem of unemployment in the long run. And thus the economy will remain at full employment equilibrium level. Further, fourth implication of Say's law of markets is automatic attainment of full employment. In the technical words, Keynes held that Say's law is equivalent to the proposition. Proposition means opinion. He was of the opinion that there is no obstacle to full employment. This means that, in simple words, in the long run, economy will automatically achieve equilibrium, which will be at full employment level. The fifth implication of Say's law of markets is passive role of money. So we understand, students, that money acts as a medium of exchange so that transactions can take place. But as we studied under barter economy, goods are exchanged for goods. So therefore, here money has no role to play. Therefore, we say that role of money is passive and not active. The next implication is no deficiency for aggregate demand. Since we have already studied supply automatically creates its own demand, so there is no possibility of overproduction. Therefore, Say's law absolutely denies that there will be possibility of deficiency of demand or lack of demand. Further, the next implication is interest rate flexibility. According to Say's law, saving is another form of spending for the producers because whatever the producers save, they automatically invest it in the further production of activities. So thus the savings are always equal to investment. This takes place through the flexibility of the rate of interest. The last implication is wage rate flexibility. According to classical economists, there must be money wage cut policy that would solve the problem of unemployment. This means that the producers should follow minimum wage rates so as to avoid involuntary unemployment. That means those people who are willing to work are able to get jobs. So thus this will further promote the wage rates to automatically adjust, thus bringing the economy to full employment stage. Now the last subtopic under Say's law of market is criticisms. Now though logically This classical theory of Say's law of market seems to be right and correct, but Keynes has criticized it and completely disregarded it because of false premises. So let's see the main points of Keynes' criticisms as against this theory further. The very first criticism of Say's law of markets is unrealistic assumption of full employment condition. According to Keynes, the classical assumption of full employment condition is unrealistic. Why? That is because full employment situation does not exist in the real world. According to Keynes, there can be possibility of underemployment which can be regarded as a normal phenomenon. Underemployment means it basically measures how well the labor force is being utilized in terms of skills, in terms of experience, as well as availability of work. The next criticism is undue importance given to the long period. Keynes has strongly opposed the classical assumption that there will always be equilibrium in the long run. Why? Because Keynes has said that there should be greater importance given to short-term equilibrium. Why? Because Keynes believed that in the long run we are all dead. So there is no use to say that in the long run everything will be alright. Next criticism is Say's law of markets is unrealistic. Keynes has also criticized that the classical economists for accepting Say's law, because according to Keynes, supply does not necessarily create its own demand. Why? That is because investment may not always be equal to saving. Hence, in this case, Say's law becomes unrealistic. The next criticism is that Say's law of market ignores the role of money. Now this we are considering in case of barter economy, where goods are exchanged for goods. So the role of money is absolutely nil. The role of money is passive, it is not active. But however, Keynes said that in real world, in realistic situation, money plays a very important role in the form of transactionary demand as well as in the form of precautionary demand. The fifth criticism of Say's law of market is Keynes' attack on interest rate. Now Keynes has attacked the classical theory with respect to saving and investment. He has objected to the classical idea of savings and investment equilibrium which takes place through flexible interest rate, which according to Keynes is that savings and investment equilibrium can be obtained through changes in demand rather than the interest rate. So he has said that saving and investment can be only brought to equilibrium through changes in income and not the interest rate. The next criticism is Keynes' attack on laissez-faire policy. Now, Say's law is based on the assumption of laissez-faire policy, where government must not intervene in the functioning of the market. But Keynes has absolutely disagreed with this. He said that it is important for the government to intervene in the modern economic functioning. Why? Because the modern economic system cannot function on its own. It does require government to intervene so that the economy can function well. So thus Keynes further has said that classical theory is very much unrealistic, it is irrelevant to the present condition, it is out of date, and thus it also does not provide any practical solution to the modern economic problems. The next criticism is attack on wage cut policy. Now basically in classical view, according to classical economists, they believed that there must be money wage cut policy that would be practiced. But Keynes has disregarded this policy. That is because a general wage cut would reduce the income in the hands of workers. and if the workers get less income, then they would demand less for the products of the industry. So a decline in the demand will obviously further lead to a decline in the level of employment. So according to Keynes, a general wage cut would actually result in unemployment. So therefore, Keynes has said that if we want to maintain the level of employment, then it is possible through effective aggregate demand. Therefore, Keynes has rejected this wage cut policy, and according to him, he felt that this policy is immoral and it is not practical. The last criticism is existence of artificial obstacles. Now, the classical economists, they have said that their assumptions and beliefs will only be held successful if there is perfect competition in the economy. But however, in real world, there exist artificial obstacles, such as existence of trade unions, implementation of minimum wage policy, industrial monopolies. All these artificial obstacles do exist, and it does interfere with certain factors like prices, wages, as well as interest rates.